Good morning, everybody. As we go to the Chitas of today, today is Friday. We're holding the sixth reading in the portion of Kairach. We're holding on chapter 17, verse number 25. Vayem Hashem al Moshe, and God said to Moshe, Hashav esmata Aaron lefnei edus, take the staff of Aaron, put it in front of the ark of testimony, lemishmeres, it should be for remembrance, lois, as a sign, lebnei merari, lebnei meri, to the people who are rebellious, and they will put an end to the complaints against me, and they will not die. Rashi said, this is a reminder that I chose Aaron as the high priest, so that people no longer complain about the priesthood. It should kind of end to this whole situation, which it did. Rashi says, this is like expression, or put an end to the complaints, is an equivalent to vatachlem to nasan, a singular feminine noun. It's similar to lunarism. However, there's a distinction between nasan and nasam. So nasan is a singular complaint. To nasam is a singular noun, which refers to many complaints. Vayas Moshe Gatziv Hashem, he's saying Moshe Rabbeinu did what God commanded him. Kain also, that's what he did. Vayemiru bnei Yisrael and the Israelites, the Jewish people said to Moshe, they said to him, behold, we are expiring, we are lost, we are all lost. Because everybody will come close to this Mishkan, you put between us such a holy place that anybody who's going to come into this Mishkan, or close to the Mishkan, Yamus, and will do to expire. You gave a situation that is a dangerous situation. You put such a holy place in our midst. Now she says we are unable to be precise in this matter. We are all allowed to enter the courtyard at the tent of meeting, yet one who draws slightly further than the other and the enters the tent of meeting will die. There's too many laws and restrictions of this temple, and you can make a mistake. Are we abandoned to abandon like death? Chapter 18, verse number 1. Vayem Hashem Aladdin. So God said to Aaron, you and your parent and family must bear along with you the iniquity associated to the sanctuary. And you and your sons must bear the iniquity associated with your priesthood. First of all, Rashi says he told Moshe to say that in order to charge him and enforcing him the rule to make sure that a regular Jew doesn't walk into the Beis Hamikdash. That's the family of Kas. What does that mean? Upon you I placed the punishment of any lay people who sin regarding the holy articles entrusted to you, which is the tent, the ark, the tables, the other sacred furnishings. You must be ready to warn any lay person who attempts to touch it. You have to protect it. I gave you the service, I gave you the protection. The Jewish people are right. They need somebody to tell them, make sure that they don't make a mistake. Meaning the matters that are not entrusted to the Levites, and you must warn any unwitting Levite that they not encroach upon your performance of the service. You have to make sure that the Os Leviim don't get too close. Everybody needs to know their place, and you're responsible to make sure that everybody knows their place. And also, I'm going to list with you the tribe of Levi, who is a part of your family. Will bring him closer to you. So they're going to join you. They're going to help you. That's what we know. The Gemara says that there was centuries, like any palace has centuries. There were centuries of Leviim, and there were centuries of Kehanim, and they would stand there and make sure that a Jew coming to the Beis Hamikdash, he was approached by a Levi, asked if he's Tomei, is Tar, what's going on. Is he sure, did he come to the temple? Did he go to the mikveh? Does he have to go to the mikveh? So they would make sure these things. Before the testimony, the tent of testimony. Rashi says this is the clan of Gershon, the clan of Merari. They must join also to preventing lay people from encroaching upon to make sure that a lay Jew doesn't just walk into the base of Mikdash, sleepwalking into the temple. That's it, by guarding the gates, by appointing from among them treasurers and supervisors. This is a major work, a major event. Running the Beis Hamikdash is not so pashut, and it needs to have people involved to make sure that everything is run correctly. And they must keep in charge of the entire tent. A Levi needs to get involved, making sure that everything is under control. The only thing a Levi has to be careful. Levi can say, "Oh, you know what? I'll help the Kohen do the avodah in the service of the temple." He cannot do that. So the Levi has to know his boundary. Because if they also get involved in the avodah of the service of the temple, even though they were right there, but they weren't allowed to get involved, and the Kohen had to make sure that they don't get involved in the avodah, the actual service, because they'll also die. Gam heim, gam atem, neither you nor them. Verse number 4, but they must join you and keep charge of the tent of meeting, to all the service of the tent, and that no layperson may come near to you. So again, the Mishkan was much smaller, the Beis Hamikdash was much bigger, and people came to see the Beis Hamikdash, and that had to be made sure that they just wouldn't walk around to places that they're not allowed to be. David says, I'm warning, I'm giving you, that's your charge. That's your obligation to make sure that a regular Jew doesn't get too close to the Beis Hamikdash. He doesn't go to places where he shouldn't go. Verse number 5, and they should keep charge of the sanctuary, and the charge of the Mizbeach, and they were on the wrath of Bnei Yisrael. As it says, Rashi says, as it already says, that the wrath went out from God. Verse number 6, therefore I've taken your brethren, the Leviim, Bnei Yisrael, from the Jewish people, Lachem, to you, Matan and Lavaya. They are given a gift to God, to do the service of the tent of meeting. Now she says, I might think that means for your own mundane work. Therefore, the Torah says, no, they're not here to clean your homes. They're here to do the work in the Beis Hamikdash. You're not allowed to take a Levi and tell him, come and do for me menial service for my private service. They're there for the Beis Hamikdash. Verse number 7, and you and your sons with you, Tishmer Kenasim. You should make sure to protect your priesthood. To all the things that are connected to the Mizbeach, and all those that are concerning behind the curtain. And you must serve. It was given to you, this service was given to you as a gift. Ethanas was given to you as a gift, that you're a Kohen. If God forbid any layperson comes to do the service, he will aspect of the opposite of life. Now she says, I've given it to you as a gift. A Kohen is a gift. Verse number 8, Vaidaba Hashem Elad, and God spoke to Adam. I've given you the charge of my offering. To all the holy concepts that I've given to the Jewish people that they make holy. I've given it to you, to show your greatness. It's forever you. Now she says, behold, I've given you with joy. This instance, hine, denotes joy. And indeed, he will be setting hine yotza, to meet you, we see you, will be glad to see you. It says by Aaron. This is compared to a king who gave a field to his friend, but did not write or sign any document attesting to the gift. Nor did he have a record in the court. Someone came and laid claim on the field. The king said, I see now that anyone who wishes can come and lay a claim against you. I'll therefore write and sign. I'll therefore write and sign. I write and sign a deed of a gift for you and have it recorded in court. The same applies here. Because Korach came and challenged Aaron's right to the priesthood, the Torah now comes and gives Aaron 24 priestly entitlements with an eternal covenant, similar to one that God made with salt, and therefore this passage is placed here. And now the Torah gives Aaron HaKohen, that's one of the positive things that was brought out of this whole story, that Aaron HaKohen was now given 24 priestly blessings, priestly gifts. Mishmeres Tumrasi, that is, you must safeguard that and remain ritually pure. L'mashcha l'gdula, for eminence. Verse number 9. This goes to the 24 gifts. And this will be for you, be yours from the sacrifice of superior holiness. From the fire, to all the peace offerings, to all the grain offerings, to all the sin offerings, and to all their guilt offerings. Which they bring to me, which are holy of holies. Remember, we learned that certain sacrifices are holy of holies. Certain sacrifices are only called kachim kalim. They're basically holy. So these are holy as well. Korban chatas, or korban oila, mincha is holy of holies. It has to be eaten in the Beis Hamikdash. L'chol of anecha, it's all given to you and to your sons. Now she says it means after, first of all, mina'esh, after you brought up the part that belongs to them on the mizbeach, the rest is given to you. Kol korbanam, all the offerings, meaning communal offerings. Minchasam, chatasam, vashamasam. Now she says, grain offering, sin offering, guilt offerings, this is according to the literal meaning. Ashiyashivali, which will return to me. What means return to me? That's an interesting expression. Because this people brought. So what means return to me? Sadek gezel hager. God forbid somebody steals from a ger, and the ger dies. So now he has nobody to give, return the stolen object. So he has to return it to the Beis Hamikdash. He has to give it to the Beis Hamikdash, and that's gezel hager, the stealing of a ger. Verse number 10, B'kodesh HaKadosh techelu, you must be eaten where the sacrifices per homes are eaten. Beis Hamikdash. Kol zachar, that is only eaten, the things that were eaten, only the Beis Hamikdash was only eaten by the male Kohanim. Kodesh Yelecha, it's holy to you. So now she says, this teaches that sacrifices superior holiness, Kodesh Kadoshim, holy of holies, may be eaten only within the courtyard, only be eaten in the Beis Hamikdash, and by the male priest. So that's number 1. Verse number 2, 11. And then I'm going to give, they'll also yours what is separated as it is like gifts for me, for all their waving offerings. I'm giving it to you. To your children, and to your daughters. Because you're allowed to take this out of the Beis Hamikdash. For everlasting. Anybody who's pure in your house, now she says, over here we're talking about separate from the Thanksgiving offering, mashlamim, from the Thanksgiving offering, from the peace offering, and from the ram of a Nazarite. So these are kachim kalim. These are a lower degree of sanctity, and therefore you're allowed to take it out of the Beis Hamikdash. And you can go home, and wherever the Kohen lived in Yerushalayim, you had to live in Yerushalayim, you couldn't take it out of Yerushalayim. Different Kohanim lived in Yerushalayim, or they stayed in Yerushalayim in the time of the service, and they brought it to the hotel or to their home. L'chol tenufa, for anything that requires waving, kol ter, but not richly defiled ones. If somebody's impure in your house, you can't eat for this. Davracha, kol ter, the labis ishtay. It comes to include your children for sure. The question, your wife, who's not a bas kohen, and why is she allowed to eat? So the Torah says your wife becomes you. So therefore, even your wife, who is not your flesh and blood, because she's from a different family. Let's say she's from a regular Jewish family, and now how is she allowed to eat kachim? So your children are from you, they're kahanim, but your wife is not a kohen. Even though she married a kohen, she doesn't become a kohen. But nevertheless, that's what we have to teach us, kol ter, that your wife is also included in this. That even though she's not officially a kohenes, because she's not from the daughter of a kohen, when she marries you, she's allowed to eat from kachim. She's allowed to eat from sacred foods. Verse number 12. The choice portions of the oil and the choice portions of the wine and of the grain. The shisam, this is the carbon of the first offering. The first of which you must give to God. So what are you going to do with all these stuff that they brought, all this fruits and oil and wine that they brought to the Beis Hamikdash as the first fruits? Bikurim was given to the kohen. Rashi says, also the shisam also goes on truma gedol. I'm sorry, this goes not on this goes not on bikurim. The next verse goes on bikurim. This goes on truma. So all the truma that needs to be given to the kohen, to the truma, you have to separate to the kohen. So all the truma on the 7 species that was given to the kohen belongs to the kohen. The great truma, the first truma gedola. Then gave Maisa to the Levi. Bekure asher ba'atzechem. Now the first fruits. Now we go to the first fruits. That's in your land. Asher avaya, which you bring with the Jewish person brought to God. So what do you do with all the first fruits? They belong to you. All those that are holy, not in your house, allowed to eat it. Kol chayim b'Yisrael. Any segregated entity of Israel, the chayim belongs to you. Kol patarechem. Any the first issue of the womb, kol basa shakil avai, which they bring to the Beis Hamikdash, the first of every kosher animal. Ba'adam, also child, the first of child, the behema, and of animal, yeh they belong to you. That's why you have to be paid it, you have to redeem it. Akpada tirtes b'chayr adam, but you should redeem the first child. And if you had a defiled animal that was the first, you should be paid it. What is the redemption? The redemption of firstborn is you have to give the kohen 5 shkalim. Esengela shekel, each one of them was the amount of 20 geda. Verse 17, Ach b'chor sher, or b'chor keves, or b'chor eis. However, you must redeem the first work of a bull, the firstborn of sheep, the firstborn of goat. And I'm sorry, further, you shouldn't redeem it, you should give it to the Beis Hamikdash. As Tamid to Mizbeach, you shouldn't redeem it, you should bring it as a carbon. Because it should be given to God. So if you have a first sheep, you should take it and bring it to the Beis Hamikdash and bring a carbon. And now the part of the carbon is given to the kohen. But their flesh will be yours, like the waving breast and the rights of a high neck. This will be yours. So when a Jew brings the first sheep, the first cow, the first goat, he brings it from this goat or from this cow. He brings the first one. He brings it to the kohen. Now the kohen has to bring the carbon because part of it needs to go on the mizbeach, but the rest was given to the kohen. Now she says, a peace offering which may be eaten by the priests, their wives, their children, and their bond servants during the 2 days and 1 intervening night after it was slaughtered. The same applies to the firstborn animal. It may be eaten during those 2 days and 1 night. The chayir, it should be for yours, reinforcing the above ruling of Akiva came and taught. By repeating these words, Scripture, the Torah teaches an additional being for you, so that you not say it's like the breast and the hind leg of the Thanksgiving offering, which may be eaten only for the one day it's slaughtered, which is only be eaten for the one day it's slaughtered. It is slaughtered and the following night. So the Torah tells, the Bekiva says that actually it's not exactly like a shlom, it may be eaten for 2 nights, 3 days. Verse 19. All giving, I've given all separate portions of the animals sanctified as an offering by the Jewish people. Set aside for God to you and your sons and your daughters with you. L'chak olam. Bris melech, this is an eternal covenant. He, lifnei havaya, it's forever. L'chal zarecha ita, to you and your descendants. Now she says, called trumas kachim, all separate portions of sanctified offerings, because the subject of this passage is so precious. It contains one general statement as its beginning, another here, and at its end, to enumerate details in the middle. So since the Eibishter wanted to give, so he showed the preciousness of these gifts and the preciousness of the Kohen, that he gave them these gifts. The Torah starts off with the Truma and he ends off with the Truma, general statement. Bris Melach, it's an eternal covenant of salt. He made a covenant with Aaron with the object that is healthy and that it endures without spoiling, and also preserves other food. So he made a bris melach. He said that this is a covenant like salt. Just like salt never ruins, you can keep salt for years and years eternally. It will never get ruined. So too this covenant is forever. Bris melach, a covenant of salt, it's permanent, like the covenant made with salt, which never decays. Verse number 20. Vayemer Hashem el Aaron, and God said, Aaron, even though I'm giving you these 24 gifts, but you have to realize, you're not going to inherit any land in the land of Israel. You're not going to have a portion in the land of Israel. And this is even more than the Levi, because ultimately the Levi were given by the Jews cities. The Torah says later they should give Levi cities. Aaron's sons had nothing. The whole family of Aaron owned officially nothing. They were given also, so they were also given, not officially. You're not going to have any inheritance in this land. I'm your portion and your inheritance. What does it mean you should not have a chelik, a portion amongst them? It's a double expression. So this goes even on the spoils of war. That Aaron and his sons should not take for any of the spoils of war, any of land. They are part of the service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That has to be the service and nothing else. And that completes the Chumash for today. So, the proof that I'm getting old is that we said the Tanya yesterday of today. We missed yesterday's Tanya. So I don't know what's going on with me. But we're going to have to go back a day. So yesterday we learned today's Tanya, and today we're going to learn yesterday's Tanya. And Yocheved is also getting old, so we're both getting old and not realizing what's going on. Good. Okay, we'll have to go back to yesterday. I apologize. So I always have to make sure, look at the top exactly what the day is. So this is yesterday's Tanya. We missed it. And it's the end of chapter 9. We started chapter 10 yesterday. That's actually today's Tanya. So the Alter Rebbe, we're going back to the Alter Rebbe wanting to make a unity between the Rambam and the other sages. The Rambam writes, the Rambam talks like the Arizal. in the Esesphiras, that the Eibish's Chochmah, Bina, and Das. And the other sages said, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do that. You're playing with fire. And you're not allowed to do that. But the Chachmei Arizal disagreed with those sages, and so too the Rambam. But the Alter Rebbe comes and says, really, it's not an argument, because the Rambam agrees with them. And the Rambam is really talking about Ifta Tzimtzum, and those sages are talking before Tzimtzum, and therefore we both agree. All depends on the level. That's the beauty of Chassidus. It all depends on the level we're talking about. So the concept is everything is available to each and every one to the level they're talking about. And therefore, you have to know what the level is before you can make these kind of concepts. So therefore, when the Rambam said that the Chochmah, the Eibish's Chochmah, based on the pasuk also, but is basically Ifta Tzimtzum. That's the thing. The Alter Rebbe now briefly explains the various Tzimtzumim that had to take place in order to enable the attribute of Atzilus to emanate from the infinite light of it. So this is a very, as you see, it's put in the brackets because it's extremely a very high, lofty concept. Say Tzimtzum Be'oren Say Baruch Hu. This note will outline the mystical principle of Tzimtzum, of the infinite light of God. Before Tzimtzum, before this contraction, God's infinite light manifestation was predominant. What did Tzimtzum do? It caused his capacity for limitation and finitude, which previously have been submerged within the infinite power to be revealed. So again, you have to realize those words that we just said over here. It's very interesting words. Okay? So that means to be revealed, which previously had been submerged within the infinite power to be revealed. Because by the Eibishter, by God, Eirin Seif, Tzimtzum, La'acha Tzimtzum is the same thing. And that's what we keep on saying. So it's important to realize that means within Eirin Seif, within the infinite, there's already Tzimtzum. There's already the concept of contraction. It's thus revealed after the Tzimtzum. Tzimtzum revealed, in essence, what was there before. The Tzimtzum Adam Kadmon, the Tzimtzum Adam Kadmon, which is the highest state of existence after Tzimtzum. Adam Kadmon is the premortal man, which is the prophecy of Ezekiel, of the chariot, which is in Kabbalah is the concept of Atzilus, and upon the chariot was man. He said, upon the chariot, he saw the image of man. So that's Adam Kadmon. The primal thought that contains and is the source of all subsequent emanating and creation is Adam Kadmon, premortal man. We say that Dikna, and the esoteric concept of Dikna. The esoteric concept of the Tzimtzum Dikna, the life force that animates here, Dikna is here, is exceedingly attentive to the point that the cutting causes no pain. You see, the concept of here is that it causes, that you can cut it, it's connected to the brain, but it causes no pain. Accordingly, the term Dikna is beard, or Seiris here, are used to represent a certain form of Tzimtzum. That is here is you can cut it off, but it comes from the face. It comes from the galgelis. It comes from the body itself. But it's such a concept of Tzimtzum that it has no feeling. That's one of the reasons that the concept of here, Saira B'isha Erva, because the concept of here shows in a concept of a klippa, of a tzimtzum that's very, very far. It's very extremely distant. For the underlying purpose of all contraction is that the condensed light, in order to enable it to become clothed within the vessel of the 10 spheres of Atzilus. So these vessels assume the specific form of wisdom and kindness. By contrast, the divine light that permeates these vessels is essentially simple. When through tzimtzum the vessel comes into being, and the light clothed within them and becomes fused with them, wisdom and kindness becomes one with God. The Chochmah Bina Das. It's only after the infinite light comes clothed within the vessels of Chabad, wisdom which the Maimonides says, wisdom, knowledge, which Maimonides writes, Hu Yedeya, he is the knower. Hu Amada, he is the knowledge. Hu Yedua, he is what's known. Ubi Yedias Atzmai, and it's by knowing himself, he knows all creation. So that's really Chachma Bina Das of the world of Atzilus, of the world of emanation, because over there they're totally united with Hakadosh Baruch Hu, even though there is a concept of Chachma Bina Das in the world of Atzilus. But ultimately, what do you need it for? Because once you have the infinite, the finite in the infinite, now we have the capability of true finite. If there was no finite in the infinite, there wouldn't be finite. So therefore, there's a need of finite in the infinite, but it's not revealed, that ultimately gives the capability for revealed finite. And that's when you come down to the world of Bria. So now, because there is Chachma Bin and Das in the world of Atzilus, with there it's totally united with its source, but ultimately it's still there. And that's why you can have the next Tzimtzum, which brings about that now you see Chachma Bin and Das in the world of Bria. Shebechinas Kelim Atzilus, because the vessels, even as they are infinite in the world of Atzilus, they become the soul and the life force of the world of Bria. And now we have Chachma Bin and Das in the world of Bria, which is more finitude than the world of Bria, of Atzilus. But it's still a pretty high level, and therefore it needs to have another Tzimtzum, which comes down to the world of Yetzirah. And now they're more finitude. But they're all found in Atzilus. They're all found in emanation, which means they're all found in Ein Sof Baruch Hu. Because finitude is in Ein Sof Baruch Hu, is an infinite light. There's still a finitude concept because you cannot limit infinite. So and everything that's in it. So by knowing himself, with the knowledge that is found in the vessel Atzilus, he knows the worlds and creatures of Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiya, since they derive their life force from these vessels in the world of Atzilus. All this, however, can only come about after the various Tzimtzums have brought about the contraction of light, enabling it to be vested in the vessels of Atzilus. So therefore, we need to have this concept of these worlds, even the world of Atzilus. We need to have that within Ein Sof Baruch Hu, within the infinite light of God, there's already a concept of Kalim. Because by the Eibush, there's no difference between vessels and non-vessels, Oiris and Kalim. So by God, Oiris and Kalim are both the same. And therefore, within Ein Sof, within infinite light, you already have the concept of Kalim, of vessels, and therefore we have it in Atzilus. And this contraction makes it that we have an Atzilus vessel that are totally united with its source, and then it can come about to the next level where they're not united with its source. And then we come back, now it's not united with its source, but it becomes its own emotion. And then you can have it actually come into a physical Elam Asiyah, in a physical reality. Ava bli tzimtzum, but without a contraction, v'alavosha niskalel, without this tzimtzum, without this contraction. You're right. The sages were right against the Rambam, who said without tzimtzum, you can't say that God is knowledge. You can't put a definition to Ein Sof Baruch Hu Kodesh. The only thing the definition is Kodesh Baruch Hu. He is separate, holy is he. So the Rambam was in essence talking after Tzimtzum. The great sages were talking before Tzimtzum, and the Rambam would agree with them that before Tzimtzum, you cannot even say that God is the knower, the knowledge, and the known, because these are all things that are vessels, and by God, there's no concept, no oil or vessel. Because God is not in the domain of knowing, knowledge at all. God forbid. You see, the Alter Rebbe always uses you see it many times, chas v'shalom, because the Alter Rebbe knew that God forbid, people are going to take this concept and they're going to say God is chachma, and he's only chachma. And chas v'shalom, God forbid. God is Kodesh Umuvdal. My thought, not your thought. My wisdom, not your wisdom. Far beyond that, all these are terminologies, all these are human terms, and all these are tzimtzum, these are all contractions and not who I am. But infinitely elevated above even and the level and beyond, even the concept of wisdom. So for even the statement that he's a knower implies restricting God, so to speak, to one particular faculty, wisdom, as distinct from, say, attribute of kindness and mercy. Therefore, God, however, it utterly transcends all such bounds. So if you're talking before Tzimtzum, before this whole thing, God in his essence is above name, definition, character, intellect. Kadosh Baruch Hu. Holy, blessed is he. Kadosh, as the angels say, we say it in davening, Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. Holy, holy are you. To the extent that in relation to God, the level of wisdom, which by us, Chochmah Ilah is the highest level of spirituality, by God, wisdom, even to say God is Chochmah Ilah, Adam Kadman, whatever spiritual term you're going to put on God, by God, all these terms are like a rock, are like a physical thing. By God, Chochmah Ilah, the highest level of wisdom, and I keep on giving the word the rock, is the same thing. Because by God, both of them are creation. God is the creator, true existence. Everything else is a creation and needs God's existence. So it's not a true existence. Like a physical action. So before the note, the Alter Rebbe had said that the manner in which the nature that flows from the emanation, how and what is known as a servants, meaning that they understand how Eid Sefer there animates the intellect and the motive attributes, which even after the emanation are so completely fused with God that they said He is the knowledge. So that's the difference. The difference is, what's the difference between the upper worlds and the lower worlds? Is revelation. Not in essence. In essence, everything is by God. The difference is revelation. So there's a greater revelation, the world of Atzilus, and that's why the world of Atzilus is bottle, nullified to the source. So to the other worlds, they're still bottle, they're still spiritual. In comparison to us, to the physical world, that's physical. What is the physical world? The physical world says I have no identity. That's it. The physical world is not in a state of revelation, and therefore doesn't realize its true reality. We just learned a very deep thing. Say the Shtalshus, you can go and learn this in many Maimorim of all the Rabbeim. all the Chassidic, all the Rebbes of Chabad that expounded upon this, hundreds and hundreds, thousands of pages. And therefore, the Alter Rebbe says over here, it goes back to the basic print, goes out of the Segrayim, the box, so to say. Now we are not concerned with esoteric matters. How the emanation of spheres of Ein Sof came about in subsequent manner, unity with him. These are very spiritual concepts. We are simple people. But it's incumbent upon us, even though we don't understand this to the fullest, as Rambam writes himself, to understand how the world of Atzilus, the Eibishter is the knower and the knowledge and the known. How is that possible in the world of Atzilus? The Rambam doesn't say the world of Atzilus. The Alter Rebbe just said that the Rambam is talking about the world of emanation. So therefore, the Rambam writes, to understand this, it's impossible to understand. That's where Emunah comes in. That's where faith comes in. So that's it. So the Alter Rebbe says, even though I said it and the Rambam said it, and I try to explain to you spiritually, ultimately, it's above our comprehension in truth. The Gloyis Lanu, Stanos Hashem's expression, we say it in a davening on Yom Kippur, and the Stanos Hashem Elokeinu, and the Gloyis Lanu, Levaneinu Adolam. It's a pasuk of Chumash. What is hidden is to God. What is revealed is to us. And what is revealed to us? Lahamin Emuna. That's it. Alter Rebbe is going back to the beginning, with those who made a mistake, even though they have Emunas Hashem. So how is it possible to make a mistake that Tzimtzum K'pshuta, that God has separated himself from the world? Can't say that. And if you have Emunah, you would never say that. And they do have Emunah. We all have Emunas Hashem. So let's stick to the Emunah. Let's stick to our faith. The Iyuv Agamei Chad. We have complete faith that are revealed to us, that He and His attributes, the vessel, the spirits, are one. The means the attributes of God, blessed be He, and His will, and His wisdom, and understanding, and knowledge are one with the essence being of God. We all believe that. By God, there's no separation. By God, there's no division. By God, there's no change. By God, everything is Him. We all have that simple faith. That's Emunah in the Eibishter, that we believe that God is here. Everything physical is Him. Every spiritual thing is Him. Ein Oid Mavade, there's nothing in the world but Him. Everything exists because of Him. So therefore, God is the true existence of everything. And so too, in the Sfiras Al-Yonis, when we say the Eibishter's Chachma, it's Him, it's all Him. We're just giving all these names. We're giving all these concepts, but it's all Him. It's ultimately all Him. As we call the Eibishter Chachma, He's exalted above and beyond any concept of Chachma. So too, as He's totally transcendent intellect and comprehension, His union with the attributes which He emanates from Him is beyond the level of comprehension. So when the Torah says, I am merciful, you should be merciful, self-understood, you'll never know the mercy of God. You'll never comprehend the mercy of God. It's far beyond your mercy. Nevertheless, be merciful. Try to be merciful in the best you can, because God is mercy. What does that mean ultimately? I don't know God's mercy. I don't know God's chesed. It's far beyond the chesed of my imagination. But nevertheless, that's my faith, and therefore, the Eibishter, I'm a chesed because the Eibishter is chesed. It's impossible to understand how He unites with them. They may be apprehended only through faith. That is a thing. And that's why in the Holy Zohar, the attribute of the Holy One, blessed be, which are spheres in the in the Arizal, they're called Spheres. The Arizal called them Spheres. Spheres means things that shine, or in manifestations. In Kabbalah, in the Rizaya, they're called secrets of faith. Raza de Memnusa, secrets of faith. She'emuna shalamayla manasechel, which is faith. What is faith? It's faith transcends intellect. For this concept cannot be grasped intellectually, but only actually through faith. Which, as the Alter Rebbe said, the Rambam himself said that ultimately we should never make God into any physical concept, whether it's physical into a God, into a Avodah Zarah, God forbid, or even whether it's physical into a statement. God is Chachma, God is Bina, God, sometimes you're not allowed to do that. God is God. He's above any comprehension, he's above any wisdom, knowledge. And at the same time, God is within. Chachma, Bina, Das. God is within everything, and everything comes from him. And if a stone comes from him, surely Chachma of the world of Atzilus comes from him. And everything in this world comes from him. And therefore, the Rambam is correct to saying that he's the knower and the knowledge and the knowing. So even as God is the knower, the knowledge, and the known, but he's one with it. That's the emunah. That even as the Eibishter comes into the world, even into the spiritual world, in the world of Atzilus, even as the Eibishter God comes into the world of Atzilus, he still is one with it. That's really what the Rambam wants to tell us. That's emunah in the Eibush. The Eibush is in the world as he's above the world. That's the emunah. That is this concept. So that's what we have to understand. So a Jew has to believe emunah Hashem, because to understand Seder Tzimtzumim is a very difficult concept. Seder Shtalshlus. What's the most important thing? What's the bechein for this whole spiritual thing? And the concept in our mind is to understand one thing. Hine Hashem Nitzav Olav. That God is right here. God is not in heaven someplace. He's not like even the sun and the ray of the sun that shines here. The sun, thank God, is not here. The Eibishter is right here. By God, the physical thing and the spiritual thing, all the same, he's in the physical like he's in the spiritual. The infinite light of God is right in everything. That's Hashgacha Protis. Eibishter is in everything. And he's not in everything in a contracted way. He's in everything in as he is in an infinite light of God is right here within me, within everything. Okay, so that was yesterday's Tanya. I apologize. And today's Tanya is what we learned yesterday, so you can do it again. Chapter today is the first day of the month, Rosh Chodesh, a good Chodesh. The first day of the month is chapter 1 through chapter 9. If you do those 9 chapters, you do the Chitas of the day. The Rebbe writes today on the first day of Rosh Chodesh, the second day of Rosh Chodesh, first day of the month. He writes, Mesiras Nefesh, self-sacrifice for Torah scholars, means that when a man dies in the oil, the pasuk says, Adam ki yamas ba'oil. If a man will die in the tent, the Gemara, our sages interpret to be put to death means Adam oil shel Torah. Oil is shel Torah. A man that will die in the tent of Torah. What is it meaning? That means when a man, if a person wants to be in the tent of Torah, he has to put to death everything in the world. Everything in the world has to be nothing to him. If there's anything in the world that's going to be important to him, it's going to affect his Mesiras Nefesh of Torah. So put to death all pleasure taking in worldly matters. That's Mesiras Nefesh. Mesiras Nefesh is when the world is irrelevant to you. For even trivial worldly delights are obstacles to being thoroughly devoted and dedicated to the tent of Torah. So the world is irrelevant. When it comes to learning Torah, world is irrelevant. That's the way to learn. If you want to be a scholar, is that when you come to learn Torah, everything else is irrelevant. It's not important. Unless it's Pekuach Nefesh. It's a life and death issue. But everything else is irrelevant. That's the way to be Mesiras Nefesh, to give yourself over to the learning of Torah. Powerful Ayom Yom.
Yeah.
Rabbi, how do we say
one second,
when we go to heaven?
One second. I want to first wish everybody a good Shabbos. And I want to give everybody a Chodesh Tov. We should have a good month for all of us and for Klal Yisrael.
Amen, amen.
And do Chitas tomorrow by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
We'll meet on Sunday at 8 o'clock. We'll continue to learn the Chitas of the day. I just want to say one more thing to the Facebook crowd, whoever's listening, is that I'm going Sunday. Sunday is Gimel Tammuz. I'm going Sunday to New York for the Rebbe to go to the oil. If anybody wants to write a letter for Gimel Tammuz, you can write a letter, an email, send it to me. You can write an email, a letter, and put it in an email, zalmanbook@yahoo.com. And I will bring it to the oil in Midrash Hashem on Sunday on the Gimel Tammuz on the yard side of the Rebbe. So if you want to send a letter, it'd be my honor to bring it with me. Have a wonderful and beautiful Shabbos.